you're going to start 3-4. This is the second to last lesson that's going to be on your test on Friday. Friday's lesson test covers 1 through 5. So that's all the stuff the first chapter was on, the first test, remember? The mini test, all of that, and then this lesson as well. And last week's, remember slopes, parallel, perpendicular, that stuff is on there too, okay? So last year in Algebra 1, you learned how to graph equations of lines. Do you remember this formula?
Yes, I do.
Slope, intercept. This is in slope, intercept form. Your M stands for your slope, and your B stands for your y-intercept. Okay, you need to memorize slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over how to graph when we have slope-intercept form. The two things you have to graph slope-intercept form is your slope and your y-intercept. You have both of those already in this equation. So the first thing you do is make sure y is by itself. So y by itself. And this number 1, is y already by itself? Yes. Okay. Step 2. Go ahead and draw where your B is. Well, what's B?
1.
Just 1. Yeah. Carson, put your head up. 1. So you put a dot right here on positive 1. That's your y-intercept. Now, whatever's in front of your x is your slope. What is the run of this slope right here? 1. Because you can say it's 3 divided by 1. So you go up 3 and over 1. I need you to at least have 3 points. So you can go up another 3 and over another 1. Or you can even go down 3 in the other direction 1. And then take your ruler. Don't forget to put arrows on the end of your line. Because it's not just a line segment, it's a line. Alright, let's try number 2. Step 1. Oh, I forgot to write. In case you like these steps, then you need to incorporate your slope. Alright, number 1. Is y by itself? No. Asia, what do I need to do to get y by itself? Right, divide everything. Not just one thing, everything. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 cancels out. You're left with y equals 6 divided by negative 2 is what? Negative 3x. And then negative 4 divided by negative 2 is what? Positive 2. Alright, we'll go ahead and put your y-intercept. We know it crosses the y-axis at positive 2. 1 can be your run again. However, you have a negative slope. So it's going to go the opposite direction. Go down 3 over 1, or you can go up 3 to the left 1. As long as you have at least 3 points, then you can draw your line. Alright, number 3. There's not just one step to get y by itself. There's 2 steps in this one to get y by itself. What's the first thing I need to do? Don't divide yet. I wouldn't divide yet. Here's why. I need to get y isolated by itself. Well, I need to move this whole thing to the other side. So how do I do that? I heard somebody say it. Subtract. So subtract 2x from both sides. That makes this cancel out. You'll have 3y is equal. Now, you're not actually subtracting 2 from 6 because 6 doesn't have a variable. So you're just going to put negative 2x in its spot and then plus 6. All right, what happens next? Divide by what? 3. So it's cancel. I would not put this as a decimal because you cannot use rise over run if you have 0.66666. Okay, so leave this as negative 2/3 x plus what? Huh? What's 6 divided by 3, class? 2. So your y-intercept crosses the axis at 2. And then your slope is down to negative 3. Down to over 3. All right, I want you to try 4 and 5. Here, I'll let her call him.
I can get the copy of that machine.
What?
I can get the copy.
Read 4 and 5. Okay, 4 and 5, let's go. What happened to your X? That's your slope. 4/30 slope.
Chicken burger.
Let me see this one. I'll do it. I'll freeze it up. Oh, well, you can just copy this as a. Can you see it? Yes. Good job. No, go out by itself. What's your slope? Look there, invisibly. Yes. So negative 3y, then you subtract, that's negative 4x. You subtract.
I think you're much more comfortable.
No, that's what I'm saying, I wouldn't leave it. You leave it as a fraction. Because you don't know how to do rise over run with 1.3.
Wait, one day.
So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1. So you start at 1, then your rise and run is 4 over 3. Well, I would put it yeah. Okay, so a lot of you got the first one. So you started at positive 2, and then you went down 1 over 1 because it was a negative 1 slope. And then you connect your dots. But number 5, you had to subtract 4x from both sides. So this cancels out. So you had negative 3y equals negative 4x minus 3. And then you had to divide everything else by negative 3. Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So this changes to 4/3 x. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1. So start your graph at positive 1. Go up 4 over 3. And then I don't have room to go up 4 anymore. So I'm going to go down 4 over 3. Alright, flip the page. Alright, so we're done graphing for now. We just have to finish writing. Cordell, headphones, please. We have to finish writing in slope-intercept form. So it's easy to write in slope-intercept form on number 6 and 9 because we're already given the two things we need. We need slope and y-intercept. Well, we're given both of those on 6 and 9. So go ahead and plug in your slope and your y-intercept for 6 and 9. All you're doing is writing your actual slope in place of M and your actual y-intercept in place of B. So 6 is y equals negative 3x minus 2. And then down here you have y equals your slope, x minus 1. That's the easy case, right? That's the best case scenario. However, in number 7, you're not given your y-intercept. You're given the y, point y, but you're not given the y-intercept. Please do not get those two confused. This y and b, your y-intercept, are not the same thing. Okay? Now, look at this equation. Do you know your y over here? The actual y?
Yes.
Do you know your slope?
Yes.
Do you know your x? The only thing we don't know is what? B. But we have everything else. So we can plug in everything else and solve for b. So take your take your y first, which is 5. So you have y equals your slope, which is negative 3/4. Your x is what? Negative 2. And then plus b, which is what you want to solve for. Okay, so now you have 5 equals. Well, when you're multiplying fractions, you just multiply this negative 2 to the top only. So negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. And then 4 stays the same. Plus b. So now you can take your calculator and plug in 5 minus 6/4. 5 minus 6/4. So you can leave. I'm okay with your b being a decimal, like 3.5. I'm not okay with it being like 3.33333 or anything like that. So you can either leave it as 3.5, or did anybody get b as a fraction? What was it? 7/2. Okay, so now we're not done. We're very close to being done. So plug it in. Y equals your slope, which was negative 3/4 x, plus your b, which you can write as 7/2, or you can say y is equal to negative 3/4 x plus 3.5. Either one of those. Okay, we have one more scenario. We're given 2 points, and we have to find M and B. Well, don't you know the formula for slope? x2 minus x1 divided, I did that backwards. Slope y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Your y's are on top. So just to find the slope, you have to do negative 1 minus 3 divided by negative 2 minus 0. Well, negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. Negative 2 minus 0 is negative 2. So this reduces to 2. So that's just your slope. So now we're back to where we were with this one. We have our slope, but we don't have b. London? It's 2, because negative divided by negative is a positive. So, here's what happens. We have our slope, but we have to find b. We have 2 different points to choose from. It does not matter which one you use to find b. Just use x and y from the same one. If I were you, I would always pick the one that has 0. Because something's going to cancel out and it's way easier. Okay? So, y is 3. Your slope is 2. X is 0 plus b. So guess what b is?
1.
Well, 2 times 0 is 0. So you get 3 equals b. So now plug it in. You have your slope and your b. So y equals 2x plus 3. This right here is the only scenario when 3 is your actual b. And that's because that is a point on the y-axis. When x is 0, that's your y-intercept. But when you're in doubt, just plug it in. You'll get the same thing. Okay, what I need you to do before the bell rings / for homework if you don't finish before the bell rings, 10 and 11.